Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tracing the life of one of the most recognized and, let's be honest, debated figures of the 21st century, Donald J. Trump.
I mean, you have to wonder, right? Businessman, TV star, president. How does one person's journey even span all three of those worlds? So we're going to explore the key phases of his life to really understand that transformation, from a real estate heir to a global political figure. All right, so our story begins in Queens, New York, and it's here that his early exposure to real estate, plus a pretty disciplined upbringing, really set the stage for all of his future ambitions. So this timeline here shows his formative years. You've got the influence of his developer father, Fred Trump, who is a big deal in his own right. Then it's off to military school, and eventually he graduates from Wharton, one of the best business schools in the country. You can already see the foundations being laid. Okay, so after joining his father's company, Trump's ambitions, well, they shifted fast. He wasn't content with the outer boroughs. His eyes were set on the high-stakes, high-glamour world of Manhattan real estate. And this deal, this was his big breakthrough. It really showcased his signature style, super aggressive negotiation, and a real knack for using public incentives to lock down private financing. It was a game changer for him. And then came the 80s. Man, this is where he really exploded onto the scene. You see Trump Tower, luxury casinos in Atlantic City, an airline, sports teams, you name it. He became a living symbol of wealth and excess, literally branding everything with his name. But you know how it goes. What goes up must come down. The wild boom of the 80s was followed by a near-total collapse in the early 90s. This period tested everything, his empire, his image, the whole shebang. And we're not talking about a small debt. We're talking about billions of dollars in debt. This number right here represents the immense, crushing financial pressure that led several of his companies, especially the casinos, to declare bankruptcy. So, here's the crucial part. He didn't just survive this. He navigated the crisis and actually framed it as a story of resilience. He renegotiated loans, restructured companies, and turned what looked like total failure into a comeback narrative. And that story became a core part of his public identity. Okay, let's move on and see how this builds, because his business comeback led to a reinvention that honestly would make him more famous than ever before. And this single phrase brilliantly illustrates his next chapter. You're fired. In 2004, the reality show The Apprentice and that famous catchphrase introduced him to a massive, mainstream audience in a way that nothing else ever had. You see, the show transformed him from just a well-known businessman into a full-blown global celebrity brand. It was this powerful public persona blending business, entertainment, and self-promotion that really set the stage for his next and most ambitious venture. And then, in June 2015, he officially entered the political arena. He launched a presidential campaign that, let's face it, defied pretty much all expectations. His campaign was built on a few key hallmarks: strong nationalist rhetoric, heavy criticism of globalization, and really positioning himself against the political elites. And he used social media like no one before him. This message really resonated with voters who felt economically left behind and politically ignored. And the result? Well, despite almost every expert predicting otherwise, he won the Electoral College to become the 45th president of the United States. It was a stunning outcome, especially since he actually lost the popular vote. His 4-year term in office, from 2017 to 2021, wow, it would become one of the most polarizing periods in modern American history, without a doubt. So let's just break down his presidency a bit. On the domestic front, you had major tax cuts, a lot of deregulation, and 3 Supreme Court appointments, a huge deal. Foreign policy was all about his America First approach, which led to trade disputes and pulling out of major international agreements. And then, of course, the controversies. There were 2 impeachments, constant tension with the media, and his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. It was a really eventful 4 years. And even after leaving office, he hardly left the stage. He's remained an absolutely dominant and influential figure in American politics, shaping the Republican Party through rallies and endorsements, all while facing a whole series of ongoing legal challenges. So, what's the big takeaway from this incredible journey? Well, his historical significance is still a subject of really intense debate. As you can imagine, his legacy is viewed through 2 completely different lenses. For his supporters, he's a disruptor who bravely challenged entrenched, broken systems. But for his critics, he's someone who weakened democratic norms and deepened the social divisions in the country. So that leaves us with this final thought, right?
Is he a historic disruptor or a divisive figure? The truth is, given his personality, trying to predict what he'll do in the next 24 hours is nearly impossible, let alone the next year.
Ultimately, only history will reveal the final chapter, the full impact of his story, and his place in the American saga, well, that's still being written.